The breaking news headline I saw today said undecided voters grade Trump's performance at RNC. And I thought this is going to be a humdinger, and it was. And I'll share the breakdown of that in just a minute. But first, let's look at some of the low energy, rambling, and toxic highlights.
The world was at peace. Our opponents inherited a world at peace and turned it into a planet of war. We're in a planet of war. The whole world was at peace, and now the world is blowing up around us.
So that was Trump being Trump as he quickly abandoned leading the so-called Party of Unity. And before we get to the undecided voter comments, I promised, let's watch Trump get fact-checked by CNN on his nattering nabombs of negativity and non-truths.
This is false. Trump did not achieve world peace when he was president, certainly wasn't at peace when he left office. There were active wars or armed conflicts in dozens of nations in 2020, 51 by one research institution's count, and then 51 again in 2021. Trump handed President Biden ongoing civil wars in Yemen and Syria, of course an unresolved Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Israeli-Iranian conflict, a war in Ethiopia. I could go on for a while, but I don't have time because there were so many other false claims. So let's adjust some of those, not even all of them. He repeated his usual lie about Democrats having cheated in the 2020 election. It's nonsense. He said crime is going up. The opposite is true. It's gone sharply down in 2023 and early 2024, is now lower than it was under Trump in 2020.
But wait, there's more. Sadly, with Donald Trump, there's always more.
He said we have the worst inflation we've ever had. Again, not even close. It is 3% right now. The U.S. record is 23.7%. He said there was no inflation under him. It was low, of course, but not non-existent. It was 8% total for his presidency, 1.4% year over year in the month he left office. He said the price of groceries is up 57% under Biden. It's actually 21%. He said Democrats are proposing to quadruple people's taxes. That is imaginary. He said his tax cut was the largest in American history, not even close again. He said the Biden administration does nothing to stop migrants. Well, the administration tried to get Congress to pass a bill to tighten the border, and after Trump himself helped to kill that bill, Biden took executive action to tighten the border. Trump said he stopped human trafficking. Again, not true. He said China stopped buying oil from Iran under him. Also did not happen. He said foreign governments are deliberately sending criminals and mental health patients to the U.S. as migrants. His own campaign has been unable to provide proof for that. I certainly haven't found any myself. He said we defeated ISIS, 100% of ISIS in a couple of months. In fact, the ISIS caliphate was declared fully liberated more than 2 years into his presidency. And there were other exaggerations about trade with China, about North Korean missile launches, about gas prices, about IRS agents. So it just went on and on and on in terms of falsehood, just like the speech went on and on and on itself.
And now let's take a look at the thoughts of undecided voters as provided by CNN, ABC, and CBS. Up first is CNN. Their panelists were asked specifically about Trump's closing speech, and it did not go well for him. Negativity, loose with facts, and missing the mark of unity he promised were some of the themes.
It started off strong, just like some other people have said, but the same old thing. It went from him probably just reading the teleprompter and actually reciting the speech to into his whole song and dance of just putting his own spin on things, and that's where I feel like a lot of his points get lost.
His rhetoric hasn't changed about the election, 2020 election, and I'm really concerned that we're going to have another issue.
So I gave his speech a D. It started out great, but then he went into mistruths and grievances and attacks, and it just totally contradicted itself in terms of what he wanted to achieve with unity.
He went into some negativity. I was expecting much more negativity, but he did go a little bit of negativity and also some exaggerated statistics and exaggerated goals of.
Well, I was led to believe that there would be a change in his approach to people, and I don't feel that he met those expectations like others. I thought he started out strong and then went downhill.
Next up is CBS's virtual roundtable of 5 undecided voters. The highlight is a drop-the-mic moment from a lifelong Republican, former White House staffer, and administrator for 8 Republican conventions.
I'm a lifelong Republican. I served in senior positions in 3 Republican White Houses. In fact, I was the backstage green rooms manager for 8 Republican national conventions. It's very distressing, and Donald Trump is a real conundrum for me. I supported his lower taxes, his deregulation, his selection of conservative judges, charter schools, strong support for Israel. Those are all traditional Republican positions. but I was very upset with his disrespect for the rule of law, his lukewarm support of Ukraine and NATO, his isolationist foreign policy, the travesty of the assault on the Capitol on January 6th, his continuous denial of the 2020 elections, and going on and on and on.
Hang on, because in just a few seconds, I'll have that pollster's path to victory for the Democrat candidate. But for now, here's what the rest of the CBS panel had to say, including a doctor who expressed deep concern over Trump's continued efforts to dehumanize certain groups.
He's a showman, and I don't believe that he is the best option for our country.
I get concerned when I hear them starting to dehumanize some people. And dehumanization is the first thing you need before you exercise violence on someone or take their rights away, because you just disregard their humanity. So yeah, the tone and the language are really, really important.
And finally, we have the ABC roundtable that included one undecided voter. Watch and you can hear the dejection in his voice and see it in his body language as he describes Trump's tone and disrespect towards other humans.
Has anything that has happened in the last week, has that affected your decision?
I think it's sad. Aren't we a melting pot? And so I see it as very disrespectful, to the human race, to us Americans.
I saw a video from a professional pollster earlier who said this.
But, Andrew, there is not a single swing voter left.
But of course, we know otherwise based on those videos. But on the other side, he said this.
The question is, do we get out and vote?
And why that's important is he also said that Donald Trump's speech resulted in almost no bump in the polls. So it's still a tight race, and ultimately it's going to come down to every vote. And here's a great report from Sky News that shows why every vote is important. And while you're watching it, please comment below. Do you think there are undecided voters? Do you know some? And are you doing what you can to nudge them on Election Day?
At the Havana Bar in New Hope, Pennsylvania, the jazz competes with a rainstorm bringing merciful relief. Everyone has an opinion here, and for most, on the night we visited, it is still Biden, despite his age.
Let me tell you how close things are here. There are 197,000 registered Democrats in Bucks County and 197,000 registered Republicans. So all it will take is a tiny shift in the voting to make all the difference in Bucks County, and therefore potentially all the difference in Pennsylvania.
This is a divided county in a divided country. In the jargon of elections, it's too close to call. But you just get the sense that the road taken here really matters.